Fantastic. Okay,
How about now?
So
testing. Sound good?
Yeah.
guys, in the nature and the spirit of spontaneity, that amazing intro I did was not even recorded by the main microphone. So if you did hear it on Discord, that was a once in a lifetime event that I hope you really hold near and dear to your heart, because I don't think I'll ever be able to do it so perfectly again. And that's life is about the moments, right? Isn't it? But yeah, as far as things to actually talk about, most of the time when me and Alex are talking, we end up talking a whole bunch of stuff about nootropics and diet and things like that, and obviously tokenomics and economics as well. And really, I guess wanted to open up the floor. Yeah, I wanted to open up the floor for people to, even if they have a question right off the gate. What I always wanted to talk about, the best show Lehman Brothers ever sponsored. Yeah, they can see my shirt. Lehman Brothers. Yeah. And right out the gate, I wanted to say to everybody who actually was watching this, because they are always, we work out loud here with PyreSwap, and we've been talking a lot about marketing and the marketing strategy and how it's a stochastic process. And while everybody here knows that Yabonks' coverage of PyreSwap, done I think back in June, got 40,000 views, I think that a lot of people, when they think about the type of coverage that a project gets, they see a few superficial things that happen and they think, oh, okay, it was this one video that did the thing. But really, on the inside, no, it's a 100 different things, and it just so happens that the people who are maybe the user base, they're only looking at it superficially, so they think that it must be that this one event caused something large. I was telling people that the difference between creation and destruction is that you can have like a big cause drive a big effect in the vector destruction. A good example of this is you can fly a plane into the World Trade Center, and it's a big cause and a big effect. Does that make sense? And this is a destructive process. But if it comes to building the World Trade Center, this has to happen from thousands of people working together, as it were, to like putting bricks together, putting electricity together, doing all this stuff that matters. And while everybody at the end sees the product and the thing that happened, and they might think that, oh, it was this one big thing that caused it to happen. But no, it was a bunch of small, tiny things. And I was just showing Alex our new stickers, because having stickers in more places, each one of these is like a small passive attention gatherer. Yeah, 2 shares on Melt Still Beans. Thank you so much for that amazing commentary from the chat. And yeah, exactly that though. But exactly that. Like, it takes a whole bunch of small things happening in tandem. And I guess Alex, I don't know, you did a lot of coverage for a lot of other projects.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily that like the marketing you did was necessarily like the
It's one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So I like to consult with project founders, developers, owners of DeFi companies or projects, and I always advise them, get into the news or the headlines as much as possible, because if you want somebody to really take your product or service seriously, they have to see it like 7 to 11 times, generally from different sources, before it becomes a household name in their own head. So my video, that's one time, and it might hit a lot of people. These stickers will be other times, and then they might join the community and come in, and they might see PyreSwap, and now all of a sudden they're invested mentally and emotionally, and that might lead to investing financially. And that is how you can grow any kind of company or product. And I've worked with hundreds of companies and projects out here now, and it's always the same thing. Get onto a marketing circuit. Like, there's usually like a YouTube circuit where you go through your favorite YouTubers, you get on their channel, you talk to their audience, go through the DeFi communities, the Telegram communities, Twitter, X is huge. Fythier he's brilliant for his guerrilla marketing tactics. He's got all sorts of guerrilla marketing tactics you may or may not know about, but I think it is brilliant, especially the stickers. This guy is out here, what was it, last Saturday night or something? We had gotten coffee. I came into Austin. I hit him up, and I'm like, hey, let's talk DeFi. We talked DeFi for a few hours. I had to go, And he's just like, I got all these stickers. I'm going to be running around all night sticking these on all of the tech buildings around town. And I'm like, that's brilliant.
And I was.
And he did that.
I was
it
actually
super cool.
I was chased off the Dell campus by a security guard. For those of you guys who don't know this, yes, a security guard. They saw me on a Saturday putting stickers on the light poles in their parking lot, and thankfully I was able to watch the security guard coming from like a good 300 feet away, just like a small SUV with like green lights on it. I'm like, you know what? Probably gonna start driving now and leave, and we'll start seeing if they follow me. Sure as shit, they were following me, and the fact of the matter is that you just know that those guys, they feel like they got their job. They checked the box because they chased me off the premises. However, you know what they didn't do? They didn't take the stickers down. Does that make sense, you guys? You get what I'm saying? So the stickers are continuing to work because I literally, where I started stickering, I want you guys to know this. It was on Google Maps, and it was a location that was, I think it was called Parking for the Fellas. And I know that was just like a bunch of dudes that are friends with each other that happened to create like wherever they smoke cigarettes in the morning or something like that. They created a Google Map location for it. So I knew that that was the place of the parking lot that I had to hit.
Good idea.
Because those are the guys that probably also, you know, have like a small maybe alpha group going or a little Telegram chat or a group text, as it were. Yeah. Yep, Seabiscuit, exactly. Yeah. Like if I have to get blacklisted from Dell in order to make in order to empower the Dell employees to learn about PyreSwap, that's a cost I'm willing to take. That is a cross I am willing to bear. But you guys know, there's these stories about like successful things happens where like, you know, you say 5 years ago I got trespassed from Dell and today they're my fucking partner. Does that make sense? Because that's the way that these larger organizations think. They do change their positions on things. And like again, I literally was just putting stickers up. I wasn't spray painting shit. You know what I mean? The stickers are like 4 inches, 10 centimeters in diameter roughly. If they want to chisel them off, they can, but like I'm not going to pass it the chance of doing my job of helping out the Dell employees with what maybe they need to learn about. Speaking of alternative strategies, right here on our screen we actually see the subreddit for PyreSwap, and here we have an amazing piece of content. Would the token do better if Fides wasn't a ginger? Right, really asking the hard question. I know who wrote it. Yeah, I know who wrote it. But again,
philosophical question.
Yeah,
there.
like what could anything be different? You know, they say that being a ginger helps when you're a stand-up comedian. So I have to kind of like lead the content having this funny edge. I end up just getting talked shit to all the time on my own user base, and it's just par for the course.
Same here, man.
Yeah, whether I'm getting trespassed from Dell or I'm getting, you know, talked shit to about being a ginger, this is just part. Yep, absolutely. But the fact of the matter is that like having more and more of a Reddit presence, when you did the research for this project, you said it took you 20 hours.
Yeah.
And we thought about the way that, you know, first of all, we're in this meme coin season, right? And I know that means what that means, but generally speaking, as the majority of projects kind of enter this season where people see like whether or not it succeeds or not, they also have a marketing meta shift. Like the marketing these products use also shifts. And we saw that shift towards Twitter, right? So Twitter, back in 2022, it wasn't the case. YouTube and Discord could do a lot of things. When we were starting building this project, we acquired 5 Discords. And I'm like, you know what? This is perfect. We're only going to need these 5 Discords. Because back in the day, a Discord announcement was enough to move a chart, as it were. You could get hundreds of thousands of people showing up over Discord announcements. And now, Twitter disproportionately the weight. But these other areas, like subreddits, we are now just getting to the point where we are having content regularly posted, not just on our subreddits, but 23 other subreddits that are just kind of make Discord great again. I don't disagree with that. We definitely are making that happen ourselves. Because I think that like in DeFi projects right now, I think that our Discord is still doing things that others aren't. Like I think that our Discord culture is still like one of the strongest areas. And great to see everybody commenting on Twitter today. Fexer and Jeff and PyreSwap as well. Great to see you guys are heavily discussing things on Twitter. But generally speaking, as far as what was to touch on what Alex said earlier about people need to hear about this stuff from multiple directions. When we post these stickers out in the streets of Austin or New York or in Turkey or in other places, it's not so much that we expect like a single sticker to convert, but rather that the people that are seeing these stickers, we take pictures of them, we post them on Reddit, we post them on Twitter, we post them on whatever we have, This creates, again, like the idea of this brand being more ubiquitous because you keep seeing it in more places. So when you see crypto products and they sponsor things like Formula One cars, have you guys all seen this? It's not because they expect to convert out of the stands of a Formula One race, right? Like, it's not like, oh, hey guys, we have 700 people that are drunk out of their mind at 1 p.m. and we want them to invest in our financial product. That's not the strategy. That's ridiculous. Like, we want these people who are drunk as shit, 1 p.m., like way too early, but they're blackout drunk. They're just screaming because a car that's going to run by at 120 decibels that they're going to see in a fucking blur anyway. Not only can they not see straight, the car's going to be a blur in front of them. Do you really think that like it's them? It's their eyeballs that after? No. Later on, that car will get taken pictures standing still, and it will show people standing still. And like, oh yeah, that was the car that was in the race. And you'll have this derivative association with it, not the fact that like, oh hey, these people that are already drunk as shit at 1 p.m. watching a car go by at 300 kilometers per hour, as it were, like that's the people that are trying to like, oh wait, let me scan that QR code real quick. It's not happening like that. Yeah.
It creates a secondary marketing opportunity that is actually the primary effect you're going for, because it adds real world validity to this digital product or service that is really some zeros and ones in the cloud somewhere, and a bunch of usernames or faces on a screen. At best, if you're lucky, you get faces on a screen in DeFi, right?
Yeah.
So you guys are fortunate. You've got a leader here who is willing to put his face and reputation on the line to get out in front of you and talk to you about this stuff, rather than just be an anonymous PFP NFT in a Telegram chat telling you who knows what. Okay, so the fact that you can add more real-world validity by saying, here, like take the stickers for instance. Boom, these stickers are at this tech hub in one of the biggest tech cities in the world, and you can take your selfie right next to it and be like, look, this crime I'm committing, hey. And like, that's real world validity, and that photo of the end result tangibly in the 3D physical space shows people how serious this is. And when you see that with like a Formula One car or a billboard somewhere, it's not the amount of people with foot traffic that see the billboard that really matters. Like, you might convert a couple. Some people might check it out and be like, oh, cool. But it's the wider effect of the wider crypto community on X or YouTube or Discord or Telegram that sees the picture of this billboard with this project that they've been learning about. And they're like, wow, this is out there in the real world. They're making moves. That has a bigger effect.
True story. And that's exactly what he was saying. I see that somebody is writing to us on Kick. Welcome, Olivia. Do you know where our Discord is, Olivia? Like, have you seen our website, PyreSwap.com? Olivia, yeah, if you go to this QR code right here, PyreSwap.com, our Discord community is linked there in the footer, and then you'll be able to, it'll be easier for us to connect, if that makes sense, Olivia. So I appreciate you writing to us on Kick. And, Kick is a streaming platform that's owned by Stake.com. You know this? So it's generally... But do you also stream to Kick?
I do.
Yeah, and I think generally speaking, it's the more crypto-friendly streaming platform. Yeah. But anyways, everything what he's saying is correct. And this show, this PyreSwap show, I think we're trying to create a unique value add for our user base, right? Because most of the time, people might see like a weekly Twitter space or something like that. But I think that we're on camera, we're on screen, we do this 6 times a week, we're educating people, 7 times a week today, right? This is something that's really meant to serve the user base. Like, if they have questions, they can get them answered here. There's a lot of complicated stuff we talk about with that whiteboard. And I don't think meme coin projects provide this. Not that I'm trying to trash meme coins, but what I mean to get at this is, for a more complicated project, there needs to be more and more of, I think, a knowledge-based funnel, if that makes sense. And we have that. We're getting that set up right now, actually. And I wish that we could move it somewhere. I mean, I think eventually more of it will spread onto our subreddit, as it were. But like, there's just not going to be a better tool for that other than Discord, I think. And
Discord and YouTube, are the big ones for depth of research and for the knowledge base, and your white paper, obviously.
100%.
Those 3, Twitter, X, those are a shallow net. I think you cast out to get people to come into the knowledge funnel, and then when they're interested in learning more, they go to the Discord, the documentation, and in-depth YouTube videos. And the YouTube videos, that's my specialty, doing in-depth research, and then your community is amazing. I mean, so many have come from the senior circus and all of these other communities that we've been a part of for years together, all of us, and it's cool seeing I guess that quality of community out here in DeFi still, in Discord especially, where Discord is I don't know, it seems like it's not as engaged as it once was in DeFi.
100%.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be distracted here. I'm trying to engage with this Kick commenter who was in fact asking me to add them, so I'll just do that. Yeah, Olivia, I have sent you a friend request on Discord. The username is 5PHITHE. But yeah, 100% Discord and YouTube. These shows, they also get posted to YouTube. Although, to be honest, I don't know, and maybe you can actually teach me this later. I think that, like, do our lives not always end up as an upload? Does that make sense? Like, does YouTube keep your lives, like, in a separate category?
It does. So if you have like your regular YouTube videos that you upload, and then it has past live streams in terms of like a playlist on, let's say, your YouTube channel's home screen. So it'll show up there instead of in like the main video feed. But you can make your account so that way you can have your live stream show right at the top if you want, right above your video content, or right below it, so it's all on the same screen when you go to your channel. But yeah, it's all how you lay out your channel's account page.
Okay.
So I can show you how to do that later if you want.
All right, no worries. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just always trying to think of. I know that you've been using platforms like Restream. Do you use Restream?
Yes,
yeah,
I
so
do.
you've been using it for a long time?
Yeah, 2 years.
Okay, yeah, so you probably know it a lot better. And yeah, I'm just always trying to figure out how to optimize it or get more out of it, as it were.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that it's great that we are getting more and more engagement on more and more of these peripheral channels, as it were, because I think that's always bullish. These streaming channels like Twitch and Kick, you know, when we do the PyreSwap Show, we end up streaming it to our own YouTube, which mostly goes to our own subscriber base, right?
Yes.
And we have like a smaller amount there. We have it on Discord as well, a smaller amount there. Twitter, we have as many as 10,000 plus followers, but you don't always get the entire user base. We always try to make it so that these derivative streams, they end up on these other places that can be discoverable by new people. So when we talk about marketing as a funnel, I think that the project is extremely strong in the lower part of the funnel, where after people have already quote unquote bought in, they're continually being engaged, as it were. And I think that the secret ingredient to making this product explode as it ought to would just also be that we always have awareness being generated in the background. And that's one of the reasons we are targeting other subreddits, like general Web3 subreddits, because the people that are on subreddits for crypto are more likely to read documentation. Does that make sense?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so that's like, I'm thinking about like who is in fact the avatar and where are they? They're probably more likely on subreddits than I realized. And I didn't think about this for a really long time because I have not been like a Reddit user in the past, but like I've realized that, okay, they are probably on there because
they are reading and writing paragraphs to each other
for nothing. Yeah, for nothing. Yeah, so like the best that we can do, the best way to serve them is to just get in front of their eyeballs. And we have this getting organized right now, and thankfully PyreSwap is just a huge organization of people at this point. So we have people all over the place supporting each other and promoting each other and getting the word out there. And yeah, we are also, as it were, and since you're a tokenomics guy, you might like this. We're also turning down our inflation in our Genesis event for the purpose of getting deflation to outpace it. And this is the whole point, that when you're marketing, right, people do a whole bunch of cursory checks, right? Like after they hear about the product the first time, they then look at a few other things. Does that make sense? They have their own kind of like small checklist of analysis, right? And sometimes it's like, okay, I heard about it from you bonks, but let's look at the Twitter. Let's look at the Discord. Let's look at the chart, right?
Yeah.
Twitter, the Discord, and the chart. And in order, I think, to maximize the fact that we have these videos or these stickers already out there, you want to make sure that you're going to past their initial criteria list, right? So we are deflating the token. Like we're going to get inflation down to the point that it deflates in an upward trend. There you go. Thank you, Alessio. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah. Yeah. For those of you on Discord, we apparently just sponsored our first Formula One car.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. By all means. One day. And, but yeah, anyways, the point being is that we pass, like if you want to pass people's superficial criteria, like more and more of them are going to be doing an extremely short list of criteria. They're like, how's the Twitter? How's the Discord? How's the fucking chart? So in order to reverse our chart's trend, we want deflation to outpace inflation. That just puts us into an uptick. As soon as a chart looks like a reversal, everybody gets fucking bullish as shit. Does that make sense? You start getting this snowball of bullishness. So as we're spinning up the subreddit strategy, the sticker strategy, more and more we have, by the way, we have a Turkish Twitter now. We have deliberately a separate Twitter just to deal with our Turkish fan base.
Turkey is huge in crypto and DeFi. I have a huge Turkish following, and in my community, I know a lot of them personally now. Through DMs and calls and chats and stuff. Yeah, huge Turkish community out here.
Yeah, I'm bullish on Turkey myself. No reason not to be. And we actually, I was on a call.
Well, think about the Turkish lira. They recently, in very recent memory, went through hyperinflation essentially. So a lot of them have looked into ways to protect their wealth and their value through hard money like Bitcoin, and that is the gateway drug for DeFi. So
true story.
Yeah.
I understand that they also are heavily like unbanked and their generation is younger. Yes, like they are like their generations, the population fraction is younger and they're bankless. So like the Gen Z people apparently are just adopting crypto or embracing it or investigating it at a higher rate than other countries. I guess. Anyways, I'm not even gonna address the chat right now. But
Turkey is outside of some of the more conventional central banking systems, like the EU banking system.
Yeah, true story.
So Turkey has their own banking system aside from that, and they have been pressured, I believe, by the EU central banks and the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, to do certain things over the years, and they resisted. So I have a lot of friends who have left countries, war-torn countries, friends in the crypto space. They left, say, Russia or Ukraine, and they went to southern Turkey and started investing in real estate and other assets there, and using the Turkish banking system because it's outside of the purview of the EU banking system, which was unfairly discriminating against folks from Russia or Ukraine in certain instances when those people were seeking sanctuary in European countries. And they had to actually flee the European countries because they were getting their assets frozen or confiscated by the EU central banking system, and it was unfair and kind of messed up. So they went to, a lot of them, it's known in these circles, go to Turkey. You're more protected there. You have more independence over your finances in those situations. So yeah, Turkey has a huge DeFi and crypto user base.
Phenomenal. Yeah, we have deliberately, like I guess you could say, like a separate. I think the fact of the matter is that you're even to like the normal English speaking international audience or whatever, like the fact that you're addressing like having other countries in your user base, I think that's also bullish like all around as it comes to the whole multi-vector approach to marketing. It's like, oh hey, not only are they targeting English, the regular Anglosphere, but they're also targeting specifically certain countries because it just makes you look like you're doing more.
I mean, and DeFi and crypto, this is a global movement. Like we're changing the world and finance as we know it, and trying to take the power back from the global elite parasites and put the power back in the hands of the people.
There you go. There's your soundbite, as it were. Okay. Anyways, let's see. Do you guys have any questions? Anybody in the chat have questions about things? Yeah.
This is very interesting, by the way, because Fife has his own production crew here, and the studio's amazing. I brought my production crew with me. I've got my camera person here taking background footage, so you guys are going to see some behind the scenes footage as well, in addition to this studio footage.
It's perfect. Just more content to repurpose. Yeah, more content to repurpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys want to see what the behind the scenes looks like? I feel like when we do this show, it's almost like already a behind the scenes thing. It's like we're just talking to them about like the way that we're working on this, which is kind of funny. But I think that's what people want to see in Web3 anyway.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like, yeah, how is this actually getting built? And like, what is your actual plan for this? And I think that's also what makes them bullish, I think that a lot of projects, thanks, Jeff. I think that a lot of projects, or maybe it's a certain user base, they just want to hear that like, we're all going to make it, but then like, they don't have any real strategy for that. They don't really have like a plan for that. And that wouldn't work for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, okay, like, so what's the next action? Like, what's the next target? And I think that I'm always trying to prove it to my audience as if I was proving it to myself. And I think that's what kind of, that's like a large seed of like the bullishness of this community. What's interesting though, and I think what's bullish about it is general, is that the people who really wrap their head around this project, you couldn't pay them to get bearish on it. Does that make sense? Like once they're kind of like at a certain level of depth of understanding, they're like, oh yeah, I'm not ever gonna like look at any of the project, because now since I wrap my head around the total possible, outcomes and behaviors, it doesn't, nothing I'm gonna see somewhere else makes me, tempted elsewhere. I mean, some of them still do, some of them look at random stuff, but generally speaking, it's difficult. If we talk about the whole idea of the marketing funnel again, like once people are in a certain like level of depth, they just can't get bearish. But all we're doing now, because I explained before, meme coins, they're high in awareness, low in design. We have been in the past, diamond handed. We have been in the past low in awareness, but high in design. We're not going to reduce our level of design. All that's left to do is increase our level of awareness. Now, I think also we, as a project being unique as us, we can't copy the marketing strategies of other projects. Does that make sense? Which is why it just makes sense that we need to be as strong in all areas in general content marketing. So like, I'm not even trying to say that, oh, hey, maybe we should copy a meme coin marketing strategy. And it's like, well, we do need to have Twitter content, right? We do need to have Twitter content, but like just posting fucking memes is not the same fucking thing, because once you wrap your head around the token and its name, there isn't going to, the user doesn't translate into thinking about it like, oh, I need to think about this like a meme coin. If we can get more people to buy, maybe it will go up. And that turns into something cartoonish and ridiculous in my opinion, but to each their own. But yeah, anyways, like if we are in fact just doing everything possible, and I think that the vision of the Senior Circus is really meant to organize a whole bunch of humans to having their incentives mapped. It makes zero sense that we wouldn't have complete in-house marketing first and then think about external as like the second gear. And I use this as by the way, I should run this definition by you. Every single thing we do for marketing, so let's say Twitter and Reddit, we think of these as a piston and an engine, right? So we have this show, which is maybe Discord. This is a piston. Reddit's a piston. Twitter's a piston. These stickers are a piston. Does that make sense? And the more pistons you have pumping in the engine at the same time, the more smooth your acceleration curve is going to be, right? But at the same time, once you get to a certain RPM, you need to shift the gears up. Does that make sense? And I think of it like we need to make sure that all of our actual first gear we handle inside the circus, right? Second gear, like YouTube promotion or like other Twitter KOL promotion and stuff like that, that's the second gear, and that's never going to convert as much as it could unless you have your first gear stuff spinning already. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I knew that when I was in fact, my initial attitude towards marketing, like I was not taking it seriously enough because I was thinking, okay, I just need to check a few boxes to get this launch going, but that's never been the fucking course of action with marketing. You have to always have so many things happening that people don't realize that over time. Okay, we have a question here. Let me finish what I was saying. But yeah, like literally, like it's the amount of things that people see stochastically that ends up creating this, almost like this short-term memory where people don't even realize how many times they heard about a project before they bought into it. They just remember the one that kind of pushed them over the line, as it were, Yeah. Now, we have a question from the chat. If you continuously have to reduce emission rates on farms to make the curve flat because the percentage-wise expansion accelerates all the time, do you think of just turning it off at one point? By the way, it doesn't accelerate it's just linear. Does that make sense? So it's going up proportional to the token percentage. But the fact of the matter is that, Fexer, when we talk about the aspects of deflation, the amount that's getting burned is also kind of proportional to the total supply. Does that make sense? So like whether price is lower, whether price is higher, you're burning it proportional to whatever the total supply is anyway. Does that make sense? Because So I hit the total supply goal. Yeah. But again, Fexer, my goal was 40 million. That doesn't have to do with like me overshooting it. Does that make sense? I just needed it to be big enough. So like even with 0.7% reduced emissions, you're continuing to think that there aren't other factors in the equation. Like one, deflation and inflation are not just the minting and burning. So like the token is getting bought all the time with the incantation system, right? It's always getting bought. There's an amount that's always getting bought on it. That is deflationary. The amount that's getting sold is also coming from what's getting minted. So when we're decreasing the rate of inflation, we're reducing the amount that's getting minted, but we're also reducing the amount that's getting sold. Because like if there's less getting minted, there's also less getting sold. Does that make sense? So by reducing emissions, you curtail inflation from both sides. Secondly, Fexer, we're trying to increase the shit out of the user base. Does that make sense? I just need to make sure that the total supply is big enough so that when the prices get back to the meeting threshold, it's large enough to actually raise the prices of the meme coins. The other Tomb Fork tokens. Does that make sense? Like, so we needed the total supply to be big enough. Most of the token is held illiquid right now. Does that make sense? It's still held illiquid. So when we get back to where the tokens are at like price parity, that's when liquidity will deepen again, because it doesn't make sense to deepen it before then. Does that make sense? So like if we hold it at 0.7, it could be 40 million. Okay, yeah, whatever. Yeah, like at that point, all we want is to be an uptick. Right now we needed 15 million, and now we need to be an uptick. Like, so I don't care if that uptick happens at this total supply or if it's 100 million. We just need to be an uptick now that we've like effectively become big enough. Once we're big enough, does that make sense? Like, it doesn't matter about like getting back to that size. Fexer, if we're 40 million at the end of Genesis, that only allows 2 ohm and 3 ohm and Z ohm to get bigger when they start printing. Does that make sense? So it's not about like, oh, we need to be a certain small enough. No. We want this project to be as big as fucking possible because that's what allows 2 ohm, 3 ohm, and Z ohm to grow again. Does that make sense? Like if we don't grow those again, then the share coin is never going to hit 7,000 again. Does that make sense? Like, so if you want the 2 share to hit 7,000, you would need 2 ohm total supply to be a lot larger as well. In fact, if you guys know this, in the exploit event that happened in April of 2022, a significant fraction of 2 ohms total supply got burned. Did you guys know that? It was like millions and millions got burned, right? So, yeah, like it's not about like, oh, do we need 40 million? Yeah, I don't care. Most of that will be illiquid or it'll get deployed in liquidity when we hit the meeting threshold again. So like right now, it's totally fine. We just want the amount getting minted and being burned to be outpaced by what's getting bought. Sorry. We want the amount that's getting minted and sold to be outpaced by what's getting burned and bought. That's it. That's all we need to be, is being an uptrend. At that point, we just need, when that happens, Fexer, you remember this, during pre-Genesis, the total supply was small and the liquidity was short. So when meeting happened, what would happen? Like a small amount of meat would happen, right? A small amount, not a single percentage. A small meeting would happen, and it would crush the price of Pyre Phantom. Do you remember this? So all we care about is that when we start meeting again, is Pyre Phantom going to be big enough to just not get crushed by it? Does that make sense, Fexer? Like we want the ability of the token to go up, or should I say recover faster from that? Because pre-Genesis, there was no liquidity, right? So like whether it's 20 million or 30 million or 80 million, we don't care about the total supply at that point. We just need the rate of deflation to be higher than inflation. This, again, us going into an uptrend also allows us to increase our user base. Does that make sense? Because everybody, no matter how dumb they are, they believe that if they buy on an uptrend, they'll make money. Does that make sense? There's no reason that this wouldn't be true until we hit the meeting threshold. Does that make sense? So we just needed to be above 40 million. Fexer, we don't need to burn a total amount of the total supply. Like I was doing the math before saying, hey, if we burn at 0.2 daily, we'd still burn half the total supply in 6 months. We don't need to burn any of it at all. Yeah, that just helps manage the supply when it gets over minted. Yeah, like again, there's always buy pressure. It's inflation and deflation are both 2 factors, right? The buying the buying and burning is deflation, and the minting and selling is inflation, right? So like how much needs to get burned in order to get back to peg? That depends on the fucking user base being small. Like we're not trying to keep the user base this size. If the user base, there's only one aspect of making this work, and that's increasing the user base. I just keep repeating this over and over again. I wrote an announcement on the 17th of June where I also told us internally to the circus, and everybody just keeps getting confused about like what the metric needs to be. It's just increasing the user base. Yeah. Like, so right now, we need to get an uptick to increase the user base. But like, other than that, like, I don't need it to fucking, I don't need the total supply to stop growing. Yeah, I just need it to be an uptick. Like, I just need the rate of deflation to outpace inflation. I do not care at all about the maximum, like, or the result total supply. Yeah, does that make sense to you guys? Yeah, like literally, the user base will end up determining how big the total supply is, because the user base will end up through their actions deflating or inflating it. Like in the future, by the way, we will have gigantic total supplies during crypto summer, and then when crypto winter happens, our total supply will just begin contracting in order to level everything off again. So we're always going to have an elastic total supply. So right now, we're only just trying to, on the chart, for the sake of superficial indication, make it look like an uptick. So we've been, slowly tapering our inflation to the point that it gets flatter and flatter and flatter until deflation outpaces it. That's just, it's a parlor trick. Like deliberately, it's a parlor trick. I don't think people realize that that's always what happens, but if you go and you look at the charts before Genesis, it was just like, hey, when it inflates, it goes into a downtrend. Then it flattens, and then it goes into an uptrend. Like it just naturally does this. So like we're just trying to get into a natural uptrend. The defense that we have here is that we're very far away from the meeting threshold. Does that make sense? So everybody who wants to see a 10x or a 20x or a 30x, we can show them a 10x or a 20x or a 30x before we touch the meeting threshold. It's not hard to do. People will start doing it like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But for everyone who doesn't know how meeting works, they're going to be confused when we hit the meeting threshold, and we might immediately reverse trend, right? But the total supply will be big enough and liquidity can be deepened to the point that we dampen the price impact of the reverse trend. Does that make sense? So instead of us literally like steepling, we would fucking kind of plateau at that line. Do you guys get what I'm saying? I know that no one understands me when I get to this point, but
I'm following you.
Thank you. That's why we're friends. You understand me. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. So Fexer, from here on out, emission rate will be below 1%. Like I might increase 1% again when we get back to the meeting line. Does that make sense? Because why not deepen liquidity at that point, right? Does that make sense? Like I'm not I'm quite comfortable. Thank you, Jabri. I'm quite comfortable like maintaining a non-zero amount of inflation, because by the way, do you guys know what meterage is? Meterage are these small surges of inflation events. Did you guys know that? Like, so it just so happens that the user base is able to make money doing this, right? So like this project will always have a non-zero inflation rate over enough amount of time, right? But the fact of the matter is we just need to make the chart look like it's an uptrend, because most people in Web3 doing an extremely cursory analysis, they just look at the chart and they think this is the health of the project. If anything, we get a bragging point here because we can show that we can reverse from an all-time low, because our whole promise here is that red candles don't kill this project. It's not red candles don't happen, it's that red candles don't kill this project. Most projects, red candles happen to and they kill the project. Do you guys get it? Goldman Sachs. I had no stop loss, you're hired. Yeah, bullish on charts. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's the fact that we can reverse trend from a fucking red candle event. But in order for us to show this extremely bullish, like, I don't even know, 40x fucking return, we just have to turn deflation above inflation. Then naturally people's conclusions will draw themselves. Does that make sense? And then once you start showing an uptrend, not even like a fucking daily 100%, but I mean like just a daily 5% uptrend, right? Or like a couple percent, maybe even like a weekly uptrend of like maybe 10 or 20%, right? That right there, while arguably is booming in every other industry besides DeFi, here it looks extremely bullish because, oh my goodness, if we are now keeping deflation at this rate, all this means that all these tokens that I can buy are almost a guaranteed 10x or 20x or 30x. People will find the money themselves to increase their position here. Does that make sense? But from them doing that, everybody on the outside, they feel the necessary FOMO to actually involve themselves. And this is like, when I talk about this, by the way, it doesn't make me feel thrilled about human nature. But I realize that I am here on this mission to save the degen from themselves. Does that make sense? And therefore, I need to get these cursory boxes checked. So make the Discord look great, make the Twitter look great, make the subreddit look great, and then make the chart look appealing, right? That's the checks, right? And then they read the charts, right? And then they read the charts. And ZeroKex asked you a question. What has been your favorite part of PyreSwap, I guess PS, so far, and how, in your view, can it relate to specifically DeFi users who are looking for something with a deeper level interaction in Web3?
Great question. My favorite part of PyreSwap is the Genesis pools. I'll be straight up with you guys. Those have been amazing. I don't know. Anybody who didn't take advantage of the Genesis pools are crazy, right? Like those are the incentives that projects put out there to draw in attention and people. High APRs, daily APRs of 1% or more. That's wild. So that was my favorite part. And then
we did taper those emissions down though. Yeah.
Obviously, yeah. But every project has to do that to draw in that initial liquidity, initial attention, initial capital for building the product itself and for marketing and everything like that. So that's always super fun for me, especially when I know the team. I have video chatted with Fife here for dozens of hours over the years. We've done many shows in the past on my channel as well. I know I've been in Senior Circus for like 2 or 3 years. So a high level of trust was there. And then Genesis pools with juicy APRs. That was obviously my favorite part. And then I would say the Incantation Witch Vault, because I could take the Pyre tokens that I was farming and I could just chuck them at the Incantation Witch Vault a few minutes before the epoch would end and make a fraction of a percent or a percent or two on it for very little work or time. And it was just like an easy game, especially when it wasn't saturated with players yet. So I wasn't getting, what was the term you used? Smoldered. I wasn't getting smoldered to death. Once you understand the concept behind PyreSwap, it's easy to gain an advantage over other players. That's what DeFi is. It's PvP, essentially. He's trying to create something that breaks away from the PvP model and has a cyclic, a true utility-based ecosystem that is self-sustaining, which is very noble effort. I still love DeFi in the PvP aspect because I can out-research people.
There you go.
So I can learn better than most people. Not trying to toot my own horn or whatever.
No, you got an advantage.
It doesn't take much to be able to do that. Just some time and effort. If you really want it, if you're really interested in something, read that documentation a few times, watch the YouTube videos a bunch, watch his live streams with his community. He's like on camera showing you how to do these things and then just do them. That was the funnest part for me, especially because my risk exposure was so low because I knew the team. I was 99.99% positive I wasn't going to get rug pulled. The contracts were pretty standard for emissions contracts for Genesis pools. So I felt comfortable there. My main risk exposure were macro environment from the overall market.
Yep.
If BNB, Phantom, or AVAX were to crash, my positions would go down, but they would anyway because I'd be holding those tokens regardless.
Yeah.
So I would just put them to work there, get free Pyre, quote-unquote free Pyre tokens. Obviously, that's the interest I'm earning for lending you my liquidity.
Yep.
And then I would just put it to use in the Incantation Witch Vault. I'd play the game. I wasn't as good at meeting. For whatever reason, my brain wasn't as good as the arbitrage, the metatrage opportunities. So the players out here were, the other players were actually beating me and gaining advantage in the metatrage.
Yeah, they practice.
Yeah, they were very good. You guys are very good at that. You guys who are doing the metatrage stuff, I was losing money on the Metatrage, and you guys are winning my money. And I found that I was better at the Incantation Witch Vault, just because I could just set a timer and I could go there and just it was pretty easy, right? And
Sorry.
so that was my favorite part, is probably the Incantation Witch Vault and the Genesis pools. I love liquidity farming, and then you use those tokens to play the game how you want.
You know, the Genesis. It's funny you mentioned the Genesis. By the way, the people in chat were telling you to definitely get into the Witch Vault. So it's good you said that, because they're like, "Yep, get into the fucking Witch Vault." But by the way, I recently revealed this second level of the Witch Vault, which generally involves with the players now coordinate in order to actually keep positive yield higher in order to offset negative yield for all players, which is a part of the game theory that isn't really like. It wasn't discussed, at least not in your video or anything in the docs yet. It was something I wanted to introduce later, but I've introduced it now, and they're now figuring it out on their own. Whereas, okay, even if with the risk of smoldering a negative yield, if we all choose to put in the same amounts, like if they get community coordination on the amount to play, they can all effectively make like 5% in epoch.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I revealed this. We've been doing this for 6 months now. I kind of assumed people would figure it out on their own, but they didn't. Anyways, no problem. I taught them it, and then they're getting very, very good at it. But yeah, literally. So the Genesis, it's funny. I appreciate you saying that, because what I basically figured out is that the way that people used to go crazy for a Genesis event in 2022 was just not exactly like the gist of it here. Yeah, like it was just people were still just more focused on like meme coins and stuff like that, and the criteria list for like meme coins is like, are they burning their LP? You know what I mean? Like they deploy liquidity and then they just like burn it because it shows that like they're not going to rug it later, which is
right.
That's the check. It's like, okay, that's good enough for me. And not like, oh, are they running this like 6 month long Genesis event with emissions? And that's just, I figured out that like a lot of the people that were in Web3 in 2021 and 2022, 60% of them like don't necessarily come back at the same type of the season. Does that make sense? So you end up with like a different user base. Like some people are still here, other people are not. And we're tapering our emissions, and it's still pretty ridiculously expansionary, right? Like the APR that you're actually getting, especially with you consider the price turnaround now at this point, is still through the fucking roof. But I think that what I was trying to do with launching this Genesis is I was still trying to copy what I thought would work in a 2022 market. You know what I mean? And it was like, you just need more than that. Yeah, like the Genesis is one thing. People naturally still like airdrops. People still like this and stuff like that. But I think that that was
it worked. I mean, it worked great. I think your TVL
for the first
got close to like
weeks,
a million.
Yeah.
And then obviously as the prices fluctuate, the TVL it skews based on
for sure
based on the prices.
And we were inflating it aggressively.
So as the Pyre tokens prices come back up in a deflationary environment, your TVL is going to reflect that as well.
Yeah.
So you'll start seeing more and more of like the true value of the TVL in regards to the blue chip quote unquote value tokens that are paired in those liquidity pools.
Yep. No, for sure. The way this works, right? Like, so if you think of like Pyre Phantom, and let's say Pyre Phantom is like 0.01 TWAP right now, right? And if you think of 2 ohm as maybe 0.10, if we have to 10x to get back to the meeting threshold, everybody who's collecting emissions right now, most of them are holding it illiquid. Does that make sense? Because like, well, I don't want to sell at this price because I'm assuming that once deflation outpaces inflation, all these tokens that I'm getting, they're going to be worth a lot more. So this is like a very non-compounding Genesis right now. Like people just aren't compounding like they would normally, maybe in an uptrend. But when Pyre Phantom returns to the price or deflates to the price of 2 ohm, people can now sell it for 2 ohm to deepen liquidity at that level. Because what that means is if they're now bullish on the belief that both of them are going to rise all the way up to Phantom's price, then it makes sense that they would pair these tokens illiquid against each other in liquidity, and then not only do they both still get that 10x to peg, but they also get swap fees on the way up. Does that make sense? So like there's
and
now
emissions.
Exactly. Yes, if they just take it in Genesis, 100%. So they now can triple stack their incentives on the way up when we deflate up to the TWAP, to the meeting threshold, as it were.
And an advanced liquidity farming mindset is the emissions tokens that you get. You can either look at them in a day-to-day time frame. If I just take my my rewards and sell them immediately, that's my profit? Or do I speculate on the future value of what I believe that token will be in a time frame, say 1, 2, or 3 months down the road? And if right now I'm getting 0.1% APR on some blue chip tokens in a pool, say I'm farming, I don't know, ETH and Bitcoin, right? And I'm getting 0.1% in a Pyre token. Well, what if that Pyre token in the next 1, 2, or 3 months goes up in value? Well, then I can shift my mindset to think I'm not actually getting 0.1% per day. I might actually be getting 0.5 or 1% per day if I sell it at this point in time in the future. Just like speculative Bitcoin or Ethereum mining, I don't sell when the price is down, essentially, unless that's my strategy. There's nothing wrong with that strategy, by the way. It's all about your own risk-reward profile.
Sure.
And what your thesis is for how this is going to play out. So with a deflationary environment and with a team that's just going with marketing, then you should essentially see that inflationary price chart, which is like this. Then it flattens out, and then you deflate, and the price should start coming up again. So when I'm farming, I'm thinking about that. Where's the price going to be when I want to sell it? And then that's how I calculate what my true profit will be versus looking at it just day to day. Oh, I only made $5 or $10 today in X token, but maybe that's $50 to $100 in 2 months. And if I do it that way, then I got 2 months at $50 to $100 per day. That's a lot more money. So, and that's not including price appreciation of the underlying assets that you're holding. You're holding those tokens anyway. Like he was saying, if you're holding 2Ohm and Pyre Phantom, well, if those 10x in that time, that's crazy. Like that gets crazy then, right? Like your emissions have 10x'd plus your underlying has 10x'd.
You ain't wrong. Yeah. And if also their target is the price of Phantom. So if Phantom goes up and they can continue to climb to see it, then that's another multiplication factor. You guys know what I mean? I think Phantom right now is price check on Phantom. $0.38. Thank you so much, Mr. Producer. Yes.
It's awesome. I gotta love having teams.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to do it. 38 cents. So like again, for those of you who know, Phantom's had an all-time high north of $2. I think $3 even. Not sure if it gets there again, but the fact of the matter is it can definitely get higher than it is now. And if it goes double where it is now or triple what it is now, that's another multiplication factor of what your total gain could be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And for those who are really clever and smart, much smarter than me. By the way, I am not the smartest or anywhere near it of the folks out here. So many people in this community I know are way smarter than me, okay? So those folks who are super clever and good at the metatrage stuff, the incantation witch vault better than me, while they're sitting there in their liquid positions just waiting for their price targets, they're getting these emissions and they can either deepen their own liquidity, they can take those rewards and metatrage for maybe some more 2Ohm tokens and then take half of their Pyre Phantom, metatrage, get 2Ohm, get the Pyre Phantom, pair them, and deepen their liquidity position and compound that way. Though the really clever people know how to take those rewards and play with them in the meeting opportunities and the incantation witch vault to make additional profit on top of it through the utilities in the ecosystem he's built.
Appreciate that. And to Valve's BTW on Twitch, what's up to you as well, sir? Okay.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Valve? Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up indeed?
How do you do?
And yes, and Zero Kex says again, 100%. It's open levels of practice. Crazy how you can choose your own level of interaction and benefit. Yeah. And Zero Kex, I was just describing this to Alex with my self-sustaining fish tank in the other room. That generally speaking, like this is not just a DApp, but rather a mega DApp. We want to make like a small crypto economy inside the crypto economy, so people can be as passive or as active as they want. Like we're just trying to have this variety of ways that money moves around to the point that it can, through the power of the time value of money, effectively become this small, I guess you'd call it like a nano economy. I don't even know what you would call it. LOL, catch it. Thank you, Alessio. I don't know what you mean there, but yes. Okay, well, fantastic. Well, yeah. We're right here at like the 50-minute mark. And do you guys have any other questions? Do you want to hear anything else about us talking about marketing or promotion or Web3 or DeFi? Or do you want to talk about anything?
I'm open to talking about whatever. This is a cool experience for those of you in the DeFi world. It's really awesome to meet your friends and associates from DeFi and crypto in the real world, because so many of us do our work and our trading and our DeFi stuff from behind screens or on our phone or on a computer, and it's cool to have that human element, because 100%. Behind all the screens are people, and we often forget that. So I think it's really cool to be able to be here in person. Like I've hung out with James Pelton and his whole family, and like Drew Wolfer, Max Cashout. I've hung out with a bunch of folks from the crypto community, Cyril Kier from like Parrotly and Only Burns and all that. Like I've met these people in person. Some of them have come to the animal sanctuary that I co-founded, and I've met the animals, and it's always interesting to have these opportunities. So when I heard you were here in town, I was like, yes, let's meet up and do something.
Jeff says, bullish on your bonks being so yoked, by the way. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Mr. Producer, if you could change the zoom back to your bonks flexing. Yeah, there you go. There's your screenshot, by the way.
I've been bodybuilding for like 2 years straight.
Oh, he's a vegan. Do you guys know he's a vegan?
I am don't out me, bro. You're trying to...
Yeah, I'm dime him out. But as far as like bodybuilding diets, you can do it vegan if people say doubt that.
So that's actually one thing I've been really disciplined about, is my diet and fitness and sleep this past year and a half or 2 years. A lot of you might know I wasn't sleeping much because I was staying up researching all these projects, making these videos, and growing my YouTube channel. And I let my health go quite a bit. And I used to be really athletic and into bodybuilding and stuff. And I decided to prioritize my health again and my fitness. And I've been hitting it hard. And
look at that tricep, you guys. Look at it. Yeah, ridiculous.
One of my crew members here is actually my bodybuilding coach. She's one of the best in the space and everything. So she's over there taking pictures of us behind the scenes. So it's been really cool, man. I know you're really big into like supplementation, nootropics, testosterone boosting supplements and things like that.
Yeah, I used to weight lift. I'm maybe like 20 pounds underweight right now, as much as I would be. I've been 50 pounds heavier when I was really lifting weights in the same frame. That was 4 or 5 years ago or something. And one day when I get my time back, I'll be able to just really get back into like my fitness again. And I just think of it like, sometimes you got to give things up to go ahead. You know what I mean? And Jeff asked, can we get some details on your bonks' protein macros? So your macros? Sir?
So I'm doing between probably 200 to 250 grams of protein a day, and if I'm anywhere between 150 and 300 grams of protein, I'm satisfied with that. But I try to hit between 200 to 250. It's a lot of eating, but it's a manageable amount if I'm on point with my meal plan. And I eat 4 to 5 meals a day. And depending on what phase I'm in, if I'm in cutting or maintaining or bulking or lean gaining, then my calories will shift accordingly based on my calorie allotment for that phase. I recently just did a cutting phase for 12 weeks. I lost 25 pounds. So I looked, 12 weeks ago, I was a little chubby and everything. I was bodybuilding. I was super strong on that bulking phase, but I got a little too fat. I got way too fat. So I lost 25 pounds though, and it's great. I feel awesome, and I no longer get winded going upstairs, so that's a benefit.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Amazing. Zero Kexis teaches about nootropics.
Yeah, this guy knows his stuff on nootropics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. Bulk up for winter, cut up for summer. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. We appreciate that. We appreciate that comment. Bravo. Sorry, we're getting photos on the side.
Yeah.
Thank you. Fantastic.
This is great. Fife has a very legit studio here. He's got the diffuse lighting, and this is amazing. This is better than most of the YouTubers setups that I'm friends with that have hundreds of thousands of followers. Like this is way nicer.
Bullish, by the way. Yeah. So I know
yeah.
maybe you guys can't see the studio, but from a real live YouTuber, he said that the studio here is better than people who have hundreds of thousands of subscribers.
For sure.
Yep. But yeah, I also I didn't want to half-ass any part of this, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like originally, when I was interviewing you for the promotion video in June, I'm still upstairs, and it was like, well, I already had most of this set built, and it was like, well, the fact of the matter is this set got so immense, it just needed a full-time producer, effectively, right? Otherwise, it's just like, you can sprint back and forth to go to the production computer to see if you're in. It's like, well, no, our aims are bigger than that. And Anyways, nootropics.
I say nootropics.
Yeah. Nootropics, yeah. Nootropics. I would say that like the one thing that I almost recommend to everybody is lion's mane.
Yes, that's my favorite one, man. Yeah, that's my favorite.
We should get a lion's mane sponsor. We should get a corporate lion's.
Let's go. Let's hit Paul Stamets up at Hosted Defense.
They have them here in Austin. There are a lot of them.
Really?
Like one of the ones that I don't know. Texas has like a nootropic scene. And like they have them around here, and we could just get like, hey.
And they have a big hipster mushroom farming scene too.
Yeah, exactly. So we could just get like a little can of their stuff to just put like right here, as it were, and be like, hey, the PyreSwap Show is brought to you by, Shroom Yourself, or whatever the fucking brand is called. And anyways, that's what that is.
You want 3 to 6 grams of lion's mane extract made from a dual extraction process of hot water and alcohol, preferably from the mycelium. Not the fruiting bodies. Not many people know that. It's kind of backwards with lion's mane. The mycelium has aracinines in it, which are only found in the mycelium, where the heracinones are only found in the fruiting bodies, and the aracinines have 4 times the neurogenesis effects as the heracinones in the fruiting bodies. So if you want the most bang for your buck, the most neurogenesis, you actually want the mycelium extract. Now you're going to be reading the Amazon reviews, and people are going to be like, "Oh, all the mushrooms. You want the fruiting bodies. Mycelium's a ripoff. It's a scam. No, not for lion's mane. For lion's mane, get the mycelium extract. You can do both. You can get a fruiting body extract and a mycelium extract, and take them both. If you really want to mix it up like that, that's kind of what I did for a few years there. But yeah, mycelium extract. The Hosted Defense brand, Paul Stamets, his is mycelium-based extract. And it's all based on the scientific literature. I have gone through hundreds of lion's mane studies on Google Scholar and NCBI PubMed database, and that's exactly what you want. 3 to 6 grams of the dual extract from the mycelium, hot water, and alcohol extract.
I'm going to write down what you just said. Okay. Yeah, 3 to 6 grams.
Jeff said Paul Stamets is the shroom guy, right? Yeah, he's the shroom guy. He's got the beard and the hat, and he's my favorite mycologist. And he said, Yabonks knows his shrooms. I sure do. I was growing all sorts of different varieties of mushrooms at the animal sanctuary over the past couple of years. I've grown lion's mane, oyster mushrooms, shiitake, and others. And Fexer said, are we talking magic mushrooms? Now, if we are talking magic mushrooms,
psilocybin.
Yeah, so we'll be careful because of YouTube and their community guidelines here. But it is said in the scientific literature that it can increase dendritic branching and neuronal pinning on your neurons. So the lion's mane actually builds up your myelin sheath that connects your neurons together and speeds up the rate of transmission and makes more robust dendrites and neuronal connections. So that's great, but then the magic mushrooms increases the amount of pins that form on your neurons and creates increased dendritic branching. So you end up having your neurons connected to each other in new, fascinating, creative ways outside of your normal neural pathways, even at a microdose where it's subperceptible. You don't even realize you're on anything mind altering. You take like 100 grams or milligrams, and it increases connections.
Synaptic density. Synaptic density.
That's great. Yes.
Yeah, you want the routes in your brain to be more. That's it. More. Make your brain less flat and smooth. Right? Does that make sense? It makes your brain less smooth. Does that make sense? Increases wrinkle density. Increases synaptic density.
You don't want to be a smooth brain, all right?
Yeah, not a smooth brain.
By the way, not medical advice. Please check with your doctor. I'm just old Yabonks here on the internet, a crazy person on YouTube.
Yeah, true story.
So, don't do anything I say. Do your own research, read the studies for yourself, and make educated decisions. Talk to your doctor. There are, because those mushrooms were banned, at least here in the United States, research on them kind of came to a halt for quite a few decades. So we're kind of behind the times, and the research is now catching back up as people are allowed to study these things again. So we are uncovering new information every day. We don't know all the risks, potentially. Some people say that the serotonin B receptors, I think it's like HTB, the serotonin B receptors in your heart might be engaged by the serotonergic properties of the psilocybin. So we don't know if you take a chronic dose, even a low microdose every day for months or years, if you might get heart enlargement of the heart walls, which other medicines in the past that had this similar property caused some people to have heart attacks and die, and those had to be pulled off the market. We don't know for sure, but there is that potential. I'm not saying it's true or not. The scientific studies have alluded to this potentially being a possibility based on its K factor, the strength of which it binds with those serotonergic B receptors over other serotonin compounds in your body. So just something to be aware of. Don't go crazy. Take breaks, cycle things, be smart, do your own research.
There you go. I hope that was a solid chunk of nootropic. I'm never going to pronounce it the same way again. But a solid chunk of nootropic knowledge by Yabonks, also known as Alex. And I guess as far as like other nootropics, like I think that's probably still like the majority of it.
I love the racetams or racetams, however you want to say it, like piracetam, phenylpiracetam. Those two are super fun in my opinion. Phenylpiracetam especially, and very low risk profile. Very popular in Russia and other places where it is approved. You can go buy this stuff at the pharmacy and at drugstores, and here in the States it's considered a research chemical. You can get it from research chemical sites. I won't say any source names. I don't want to get your channel banned or anything, but do your own research. Again, other racetams I like are Nupept. Oxiracetam is great if you like very analytical stuff like mathematics. Aniracetam is an analog that is great for social skills and verbal fluency. But phenylpiracetam is my favorite. It's very stimulating. You know when you take it. It's 1,000 times stronger than piracetam. It's got the phenyl ring attached to it, and it makes your brain fire on all cylinders, increases learning rate, and is more effective at focus and attention than ADD drugs like Adderall and Ritalin. And this has been shown in the studies that it is significantly more effective. Now, whether that works person to person, it's all very individual. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist here.
Yeah.
But so piracetam, phenylpiracetam, Nupept are all super interesting. And Nupept also increases neurogenesis big time in the hippocampus, like lion's mane and other things.
Interesting. Speaking of like dopamine and focus, one that I recommend, at least for me, has worked. I know for a fact this is not one that works for everyone. It's called Mucuna pruriens. Okay, so that's spelled Mucuna Second word is pruriens, so P-R-U-R-I-E-N-S. So Mucunia, or Mucunia P, as I'm going to call it, effectively, what it does is it increases a component called levodopa.
L-dopa, yeah.
L-dopa. So L-dopa, for those of you who don't know, is the precursor to 4 main neurotransmitters. The 4 that descend from levodopa are dopamine, serotonin, epinephrine, and norepinephrine. So when I talk about neurochem, those 4 are like huge. Like I think as far as like the neurochem that people actually need to know by themselves, those 4 are extremely important. So whether not everyone's brain works the same way, but most people benefit in focus from increasing their dopamine or increasing their norepinephrine. So if you don't know this about your brain, you can in fact just increase your Mucunia P intake, and this will increase your levodopa, which will allow more of that to get distributed among the neurotransmitters you lack. So for me personally, I learned in the past that I had a bunch of small allergic reactions. And for those of you who don't know, epinephrine as a neurotransmitter, as a neurohormone, is the same thing as adrenaline. So when you're having allergic reactions happening in the background, you're putting a greater load on your epinephrine. Does that make sense? So all the levodopa that's going through your brain and body naturally, if you have small microallergies you're not aware of, it's getting sapped by your epinephrine system. So in order to either deal with the fact that your epinephrine system is getting sapped, you need to supplement levodopa so you can either get more dopamine, get more serotonin, or get more norepinephrine that's not getting supplemented by epinephrine. Does that make sense, everybody? So if you also just feel low energy, you might not have enough epinephrine. So I think Mucunia P is a great nootropic because it just happens to give you like a small supplement to those 4 neurotransmitters. And the way that your brain routes them is going to be unique to you, but I think it has worked wonders for me. It might work for you guys. It depends on your situation. That's another.
Yep, and make sure to check the side effect profile and everything. Some people don't react well to it because it's brain chemistry and stuff, but some people react very well to it. Jeff, you just put stoned ape theory in the chat. Terrence McKenna, love Terrence, and I've listened to hours and hours of his talks. Super brilliant guy, and the stoned ape theory off the top of my head, if I remember, is that humans developed advanced linguistics and mental capabilities essentially at an earlier hominid state that went from tree climbers eating fruits and all this to planeswalkers, and in their foraging they found psilocybin mushrooms and ate it, and then it expanded their consciousness, increased their linguistic neuronal development, and then that's how they think communication. Terrence and proponents of this think that advanced communication was developed in humans. Interesting theory for sure.
So like basically what he's saying is, again, they assume that primates lived in the trees until maybe fires broke out and then wiped out the trees, or maybe isolated them to the point where there weren't trees anymore. So these primates were basically environmentally pressured to basically begin standing up so they could see farther because they can't climb a tree. Does that make sense? Additionally, when you're out on the plains, there is not so much fruit anymore as much as there is like roots and grasses. So they kind of had to move towards a more carnivorous diet, which ended up with them following bovines, effectively. Like following bovines and tracking bovines, and effectively like being on the trail of bovines as they move. So as they figure out how to track bovine, they end up finding bovine droppings where the mushroom grows. And effectively, since they were living very feast or famine at the time, they would end up picking mushrooms and eating them because they're now living in the plains as opposed to living in the woods. So I will say this, that also not that I'm knocking veganism, by the way, but the animals that tend to be much more carnivorous, at least like whales and stuff like that, they end up also, there's a type of neurogenesis that associates with that, like with spatial reasoning for a carnivore more so than an herbivore. So as we ended up, at least in this phase, being more and more carnivorous and also eating mushrooms, because it was omnivorous, obviously, both these factors led to our advancement as a fucking species into intelligence. And this is also why orcas I mean, orcas are terrible animals, but like they are intelligent, and
they are violent.
But like if you learn anything about their behavior, you'd be like, wow, at least we're not orcas, right? But yeah, it's the same concept. Like they just eat the best. They just eat the best because they're the apex predator of the ocean. They just like will hunt whales down and only eat their brains and stuff like that. It's crazy. But yeah, anyways, the same concept. Just that they have a diet rich in the minerals that helps their brains grow, etc. That's it. I regret nothing. Yep. Hilarious.
Yeah, I love these discussions. It's so fun when the community is throwing stuff out there like stoned ape theory and things, and I love that
it's a great theory.
I love that you're so well read on this stuff too. It's not often that I get to have these conversations because this knowledge base is it's not widespread.
Esoteric.
It's kind of esoteric. Yeah, you have to really be a nerd to dig into this stuff.
You ain't wrong.
Yeah.
You ain't wrong. I know way too much about stuff that I can't really talk about with anybody.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well.
Yeah.
But I ended up teaching, I guess. That's also cool.
And it's cool we're talking about things like nootropics and everything because that is something that we both have, we both talked about a lot because we work long hours. The content and the knowledge that we work with is very advanced stuff. As many of you know, that's why you're here, is to learn advanced DeFi stuff that is often experimental and very novel. So you're constantly having to learn new things and remember new things and then apply it immediately in an environment where money is on the line, right? So I don't want to mess that up. Like I got an animal sanctuary to run. I can't have a catastrophic financial failure because I'm an idiot.
True story.
Yeah.
But, as far as like people figuring out what, the fact, I love the commentary here.
Called us esoteric, LMFAO.
Esoteric nerds,
Esoteric
nerds. But anyways, arguably, if anything is true with the PyreSwap community, it is definitely esoteric, and it does, in fact, I was saying this before, that like, you have to be above the 51st percentile in Web3 to even grasp this, so like, it does limit who we can possibly even talk to, but it is what it is.
I mean, and if you're here right now watching this, that is a great indicator that you are above average.
We do see you,
intelligence, or far above average, as it seems to be from the people that I've met out here.
100%, and it's just common sense, CJ. I really wish it was common sense, but yeah, no, like as far as like figuring out whether it's markets or trading or investment, you also need to take care of your brain.
Yes.
The most like legendary traders and or investors, they're people that they take seriously what it takes for them to think and analyze and stuff like that. And like learning how to analyze and like learning how to make sure that you can think is I think the best underlying activity you can do to kind of like shore up your ability to perform in this, especially when the behavior of markets can perhaps trigger you into an emotional state. You have to figure out how to get your thoughts superior, or should I say, you want your feelings subordinate to your thoughts, not your thoughts subordinate to your feelings. And I insist on this. Like, don't let get your feelings subordinate to your thoughts, not your thoughts subordinate to your feelings. And like that, nootropics, however you want to pronounce it, can help you do that as well. So like whether or not you think that's relevant to your bag today, it is more than you realize. You need to make sure that your feelings are subordinate to your thoughts and not the other way around. Well, Fexer, you could always try taking psilocybin, apparently. I don't know. A bit different. But anyways, does anybody else want to talk about anything else? Yeah, maybe you need to be taking ice baths, Fexer, ice plunges. Yeah. Yep.
Less caffeine. It'll cool you down.
Could be that. Yeah, it could be the caffeine. Caffeine also caffeine is also a nootropic, by the way.
It is.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know that, the most widely used nootropic, and arguably the world's biggest drug. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, what do we say about the Bitcoin and market shitting? CJ, there we go. Fexer, it's good that you know this about yourself, because some people will just sabotage themselves all day long by drinking and consuming the wrong things. CJ, about the market shitting itself. So when it comes to like market narratives, people, and I was saying this before, if you want to look at like, we were just talking about human evolution. If you wanted to look at like the evolution of civilized man, where we kind of had the invention of religion, right? you have these, these religious mythologies, as it were, and whenever a thunderstorm would happen, they could say, oh, the thunderstorm is happening because it's Zeus, right? So people, if they have any type of idea of causality, they can ascribe it to that, and like, okay, if this is plausible and I understand a story behind it, I will accept it as belief, right? And this is kind of where the foundation of religion came from. Like, people wanted an explanation, and they got an explanation. They didn't look any deeper behind the explanation, but they got one. Does that make sense? And I say that as somebody who, in fact, ascribes to religion, but, you get what I'm saying. I at least get where it comes from. 300 top comedians is a long list. But what I mean to say is that when we talk about, like, what's the behavior of the market right now, I want you to understand for, like, Bitcoin itself. Bitcoin itself has its own two games, right? It has this infrastructure game and this instrument game, right? And as people win or lose this game, the market reacts to this as a whole, whether or not those people are catalyzing like a larger trend from their activity, or if they're not, right? And from this, you have a whole bunch of people on the sidelines, not sure what they're watching, but they're drawing their own patterns and conclusions. Does that make sense? So eventually, people who get good at drawing these patterns or conclusions end up getting followings on Twitter. And they start ascribing to the populace as if they were witch doctors of a certain type. The reason the price is doing this is because of this. Does that make sense? And enough people, if they believe that this Twitter influencer is correct, they will self-fulfill that prophecy. Does that make sense? Like, it has nothing to do with whether or not this guy knows what he's talking about. He's just good at convincing a large enough people. They end up being able to be large enough with their, I guess, capital influence to change the market in a way that kind of fulfills that person's prediction. So, exactly. And there's also self-negating prophecies like Jim Cramer, as it were. But exactly, it's self-negating prophecy. But, like, the fact of the matter is that, like, you end up with these weird cults. There's, like, a few dozen cults around market analysis as far as the macro goes. And in the short term, like the short-term fluctuations, it's all nonsense. I want you to know it is all just nonsense. But there's wars of competing theories of nonsense. Does that make sense? Now, you can look at crypto winter and crypto summer and understand that the supply shock from the halvening helps create this undersold and overbought condition, which we call crypto summer. But that's a stochastic process, and it's kind of like rolling the dice. Does that make sense? So if you get, if somebody gives you like, if you're rolling 10 dice, and in order for crypto summer to happen, 7 of them have to end up on 6 at the same time. Does that make sense? And you just roll 10 dice, and you keep rolling, and you keep rolling, and you keep rolling in order to get 7 6s at the same time. If someone else came and said, hey, you can add 5 more dice to this to get the same outcome, that's what the halvening does. Does that make sense? It allows that, like, you now have a higher chance of getting this overbought, undersold condition. Does that make sense? Do you guys get what I'm saying? It's not the exact same thing because it's actually a supply shrink on a supply increase, but you increase the chance of getting to this overall scenario where you have all these boxes checked, where the price will go up and just trend up astronomically, and it'll drag the whole crypto market with it. But until that happens, the market every day just picks up the same amount of dice and rolls it again. Does that make sense? That is the best allegory I can describe for it. But it is a stochastic process. Marketing, also a stochastic process. And it does explain a lot. Yeah, like, that's what I mean. Other than that, it's competing theories of nonsense, because I want you guys to understand something. Even Bitcoin does not really fulfill its, like, designated use case very well. Does that make sense? Like, the majority of it is still just speculation on its future application. So that's why you have this like omni-cult aspect, this tribal cultism on Twitter or YouTube or whatever. It's just like somebody is convincing enough where they're either good enough at pattern recognition or people think they're rich enough, right? Like Michael Saylor, right? Like,
or Elon Musk.
There you go. Yeah, like, or he's rich enough, and therefore, like, okay, the rich guy knows what he's talking about. Quite often not true, by the way, but they now know that they have enough of a following where they can still self-fulfill their prophecies. Yeah. That is, I hope that answers your major question about fucking market analysis today.
And the short-term fluctuations we're seeing, like the crash, if you read all of the headlines, which usually is all BS, they're going to be like, oh, because the Fed is hawkish, and the jobs report wasn't great, and it was Friday, big time options expiring all across the board, causing further panic selling across all the different markets. Sure, in the day-to-day, maybe a little bit, but it's not the overall macro trend. I just hold through all that stuff and just wait, or use it as buying opportunities. If I'm trying to DCA, if I have 5% down in a day, I might buy a little more than I usually do, or might change the day of the week that I buy my dollar cost average for Bitcoin or Ethereum, that kind of stuff. But over the long term, it's just like stack, and then just like follow the overall trend. And then, not financial advice, you guys, but dollar cost average as much as you can in the bear market and when it's trading sideways, and then dollar cost average out when everybody's greedy and the bull market's ripping, and then just do it again, cycle after cycle, and just build up your bag that way, and don't go all in on anything like in DeFi, right? Because that's how people blow up their bags and then never come back to crypto, except folks like us or you guys who are probably
doing that right now. Yeah.
That's we're still here, right? For a reason.
Thanks for the financial advice. You're welcome.
Not financial advice, you guys.
So, anyways, but
be smart, be wise.
But yeah, hey, thanks for me too. I'm also always completely all in. But again, that's to each their own. You gotta have the risk appetite for it.
But again, this isn't a normal person. Right,
Thank
like
you.
He's doing research. He has a thesis, right? He is making a huge bet on himself and the team and the community and what they're building. That's a lot different than somebody just being like, oh, here's some random Ponzi scheme that I know nothing about. I'm gonna put my whole life savings in here, not tell my family that I'm doing this, and then it blows up, and I'm never touching DeFi or crypto again. I saw that happen a lot in the last big DeFi run, and I'm telling people, like, don't do that. Like, do your research, come up with educated strategies that you truly believe in, and then make your own decisions. Don't play with the rent or the mortgage money or the grocery bill, right? Like, make sure you got all that stuff. Set aside money for DeFi, for crypto, and then that way, if you do take a hit, you're not, you haven't destroyed your family, or you're not homeless or anything like that, right? So anyway, disclaimers there. Be wise and take accountability for your actions, people, right? Don't go calling your favorite YouTuber Yabonks a scammer, or come say you're gonna kill me or whatever because I talked about so and so project that you traded poorly, right?
It happens, yeah.
It happens,
but
right?
People don't want to blame themselves.
Exactly.
Sure. Well, anyways, okay. No more questions, because we can in fact, yeah, we can in fact. I think we're at about an hour. Where are we at? Let me see. Yeah, 1 hour and 20 minutes actually. Okay, so we actually have gone a little bit above and beyond. I hope. Oh, indeed. 1:30 actually. Okay.
Almost Owen's in here.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, man? One of I've known him for years.
I also know Owen.
Yeah, makes great music. Awesome.
Yep.
Go check out Almost Owen's music on YouTube and stuff, guys. He's a great musician. He's got a crypto song.
Indeed, I saw the video.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And anybody else? All right, fine. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming to this special edition of the PyreSwap Show. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Yeah, it was a little salute. It's also me telling the producer that he can cut it too. You know what I mean? We all cut it at the same time. Triple,
Adios.
quadruple salute. Yeah, just get it going.
Tell my team the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you.